the first half, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, could be Wayne!
I think I got my swagger back. Oh!
I love it, baby!
Them orange britches. Something about them orange britches.
Tennessee wins! Out by Tennessee, Jawan Jennings. Jennings makes the catch.
Ball hit high in the air into right field. Going back is Sayre. And Tennessee can say hello, win column. A grand slam in the bottom of the ninth. You can't draw it up any better.
We just won a basketball game, and we're very happy right now. McGrath for the win.
He got it.
If you don't like college football and you watch this one, I'm not sure what your problem is.
Reddit did to do, and welcome into More Important Issues. It is Thursday, December 5th. We're not live on the radio tonight, not in studio. It's cold. Landon's afraid of the cold. So we're here, which is okay. It's okay. I only give him a little bit of a hard time about it, but thank you guys for tuning in here, whether you're on Twitter, Facebook, or if you're listening tomorrow on Spotify. Don't forget YouTube. Shout out to YouTube.
Shout out.
I don't know why. That sounds like a free ad. You should go follow us on YouTube.
They do post our stuff on there, so
we post our stuff
on there, but they allow us to.
They
do take it down sometimes. So yeah,
we'll post on YouTube.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
no free ads.
Don't start this. Don't start this now. No free ads.
Thank y'all for joining. Hey, big news today. It usually happens after we're done with the show, but hey, today we get great news. David Sanders is a Vol officially. Official. It's done. David Sanders coming to Tennessee, not Ohio State. Ohio State's had a rough go of it the last couple days. I don't know what it is. It looks like Caleb was frozen a little bit, but we'll just ride on. 6'6", 276 pounds, the number one offensive tackle in the country. David Sanders is going to Tennessee from a great place called Charlotte, North Carolina, where Tennessee won a big game this past season. A big game. I don't know if it was a big game. At the time, we thought it was a big game against NC State, and now we're rolling. You know, the signing day was a good day. You landed some people that you were in on. You lost one. David Sanders didn't sign. That was kind of worrisome, but he comes on the Paul Feinbaum show and puts everybody at ease and lets everybody know, hey, I'm Tennessee.
He's theatrical. He wanted to wait, pull up on Paul Feinbaum. He wanted us to stress a little bit. He wants us to know his worth. He said, I'm not going to do it when everybody else does it. I'll wait till the day after.
Yeah, I do think like that is – I want him to have his moment. And if he wants to worry us a little bit now so we don't have to worry about a quarterback getting touched in the future, that's okay with me. I'm cool with that.
Do all you want. And I mean, like, if he technically was – I mean, like, if it was a scheduling thing where he was like, hey, I'll just go on Feinbaum the next day, like, if that's just how it worked out and he was just going to be hush-hush about it, that's fine too. I don't care. I don't care if he planned it like that, wants to be dramatic. Again, you play football well, you can be as dramatic as you want.
Yeah, beating a program like Ohio State, I mean, number one, we beat them from the get-go. He committed this summer to Tennessee over Ohio State. Ohio State was able to get a kind of a last visit in there to see if they could swing him. And then I'm not saying it was a loss to Michigan, but I'm sure that didn't help anything. You know, losing as a 20-point favorite at home. I know the committee won't punish you, but David Sanders proves that he's better than the committee and makes Ohio State pay for losing to Michigan at home as a 21-point favorite.
I hope that wasn't the case. Like, it was there's actually consideration about that. But I also would think that's awesome if that was the case.
Yeah.
Like I'll go play in Columbus just to know that them just screwing the pooch at home as 20-point favorites was what, if there was even an inkling in his mind, and you know, their Twitter realm spent a week trying to get him to convert there, and then the football team, which is why he's going there, couldn't hold up on their end. So fine.
Yeah, and I'm sure if he knows kind of what Knoxville is weather-wise right now, I'm sure he's like, man, that's cold. And then we kind of spin as like it gets a lot colder in Ohio than this.
Yeah.
So Caleb wants to rag on me for not liking the cold. Maybe David Sanders doesn't really like the cold as much. He's from Charlotte, so it's probably the same weather as
pretty temperate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope Nico likes the cold in case we have to travel there. So,
I mean, he played pretty well against Vanderbilt. That didn't seem to bother.
Yeah.
So, also, David Sanders wants to block for Nico next year and George McIntyre after the fact, sure. And he's got Faison Brandon as well. So there's plenty of good quarterbacks for him to protect over the years, and just another big get for Tennessee, a position of need. And then, comes in and probably is a day one starter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially after camp, I would assume that's the case. I guess it's a really good, well, I don't know. It's probably a bad problem if he's not. I mean, unless you're just that consistent with everybody else. But if he's not, then that's probably more on him not looking as good as it is everyone else looking better.
Yeah. It is going to be funny because like Glenn Ellerby hasn't had like a high school player develop and be a starter for Tennessee on the offensive line. It is going to be funny when David Sanders gets there and from day one he's the starter.
Yeah. Well, Ohio State's just not. I mean, that's a program you just don't want to. I think like that game had impact, but that's just not a program I'm really wanting to get in for right now, especially on the offensive side, like especially as a tackle. No.
Well, also, like, I listen to a few like college football podcasts, and one has a big Ohio State fan on it, and he was just kind of going in on Ryan Day and basically saying like the guy's a loser, like he is just a loser. So I don't Heupel wins. Ryan Day loses just every big game. Like he cannot beat Michigan. The one reason why you're sitting as a head coach at Ohio State is to beat Michigan, and he can't do it. So he's a loser, and I like that.
It's perfect.
Don't be a loser. Caleb, you back?
Hopefully, I finally got the Ethernet cord hooked up.
Okay.
And, well, I had it earlier and it just wasn't working. So now I'm hoping it's fine. We're not going to bank on it. We're not going to bank on anything. We're just going to hope.
Well, I was kind of waiting for you to chime in, but I was like, he's kind of been in that position for a little bit. So
yeah, it cut me off right in the middle, and I don't trust this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and just put AT&T on my shit list, for lack of a better term. Customer service sucks. Their equipment sucks. Their refusal to try and actually remedy the situation sucks. I'm a hard-headed guy, but you can change my mind. But you got to try. They aren't even trying, Landon. They aren't even trying.
I hope you have like a yellow notebook paper of people to kill. AT&T is at the top of that list.
Not kill. Won't do that.
Okay.
Won't do that.
Well,
no.
Kill is in not give business to. Kill business.
Yeah. No, it's a DNDB, do not do business with list.
There you go. Okay.
DBW. Like yeah, I've got that list. I keep it. I will happily tell people that either I will not be spending my money with you or you won't be spending your money with me. Done it before and I'll do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Gladly.
Talent fee.
Sure. We'll call it that. I loved how I heard you talking about Ryan Day as I hop back in here. My favorite thing that's happened in like the last probably 2 days is everyone being like, how funny would it be if Ryan Day just they went and won a national championship.
It's impossible.
First off,
he's a loser.
Yes. Sure, that would be a funny story, I guess. I mean, yeah, he looks like you said, the ultimate loser. If he somehow figured it out now, again, I'm not as hard-headed as people like to make me out. I've already said I was wrong about Notre Dame. I'm not wrong about them as an institution, but as a team this year, I was wrong. I'll gladly say I'm wrong. As of right now, I'm right. Landon, earlier in the year, I named a couple coaches off. Dan Lanning was a coach I said I'd take over Ryan Day. So far, 2024 has only proven me right about Ryan Day.
Yeah, I'm in on that. I would definitely take.
At the beginning of the year,
Dan Lanning's in a Big Ten championship. Brian
Sure.
Day is nowhere to be found.
I think it was before football season. I was just talking about coaches who I think are, I don't remember exactly the phrasing of it, but not the elite category, but like, I think they're capable of winning championships. And Ryan Day was not on my list. Dan Lanning was. You said it was too early. I agreed, probably too early, but I like the direction he's going. Place he's in, place Oregon's at. And that was my reasoning for Dan Lanning.
You're just a Doug Point truck.
Yeah, sure. Sure. But yeah, so I've just been proven right about him, and I plan on continuing to be right about him. I don't care if Tennessee has to play in Columbus.
Josh Heupel said it. We'll play anywhere.
We won't plant the flag. We'll do something far more insulting. We'll dot the I after the game.
Okay.
Yeah. That guy probably doesn't even know what dotting the I is. Fraud.
Well, so we're kind of talking about David Sanders a little bit before you froze up there on us. What was your kind of
before you this is kind of preluding the David Sanders stuff. This time of year, it's so hectic, you almost feel overwhelmed, which leads to boredom. Like I was sitting at the basketball game against Syracuse the other night, and I was like, oh my gosh, tomorrow's National Signing Day. Like all this is going on right now. I was like, this is so much that it is far overwhelming. The men are in the midst of claiming the number one spot here early on in the season. You have the women who are now 6-0 on the year. And Tennessee football is preparing for a playoff. I mean, we're walking into Thompson-Boling Arena, updating Twitter. By the way, why can no one just post a top 12 graphic? It all has to, the college football playoff has to release them one by one. And then no one can just put it out immediately after. Like no one's got one ready to go. Someone's got to get a handle on this.
Yeah, like the AP poll where it's just released.
Yeah, you can't just find 1 through 12, 1 through 15 at 8:15. It's crazy. But yeah, it's overwhelming. So the David Sanders stuff. I mean, it was so overwhelming that I forgot I was on the edge of my seat for David Sanders.
Yeah. I mean, especially when there was talks about him flipping, and then it was like, okay, well, Tennessee survived, and then he didn't sign, and you're like, oh my God, like what? Emotional roller coaster. And Joey was kind of talking, like, if he wanted to do something different the whole time, fine. I don't care. He chose Tennessee. I don't care what he does. He's going to be an Orange. So whatever theatrics he was going to pull, I don't care as long as he picks Tennessee. But like the people that were upset and the people like when he went on a visit to Ohio State, they're like, recruiting just hasn't been that good. I'm like, my God. Recruiting doesn't have to be that good in high school because of the portal. Like, and Tennessee has a really good class.
I think there's balance. I don't think you can just throw away high school recruiting.
No, I 100% agree, but it's not the end all be all like it was a couple years ago. Like
I just think
you can fill spots. Like Jermon McCoy was probably Tennessee's biggest recruit,
right,
from last year.
Sure, no, I agree, and you're right. You're right that it's not the end all be all, but I think what the portal's done is it's just. Instead of being like, hey, and part of this too, the 12-team playoff has allowed this to happen. Now it's not, all right, we have to have a top 5. We have to be consistently in the top 5 classes to really compete for the top of the SEC for a national title. Now it's top 10, probably top 10 consistently if you really want to compete for a national title or an SEC title. Like, so it's grown that gap a little bit, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. There's more parity. And like it was able to help. Like, it came at a really good time where Tennessee needed the transfer portal. And so, like, they have continued to, I think, really do a good job of getting, like, the high school recruits and develop them. Want to see more along the offensive line, but, across the board, they've done a really good job of having a good mix of transfers and guys develop in their program. Whereas, like, Dabo Swinney does not use the transfer portal. I think that hurts Clemson. And then you have a team like Ole Miss that they just take every transfer known to man and don't really worry about recruiting. I think you have to have, like you mentioned, a good balance of both. And I think right now, from what I've seen so far, Tennessee has done a really good job at doing that.
But yeah, absolutely. I think there's been I think the balance is you want to fill in gaps left by transfers leaving at some point, guys going pro, or like that's where you want to use the transfer portal, or guys that didn't work out the way you don't. Obviously, you want to sign more than this, but you don't want to sign more than 3 guys that you expect to start in the transfer portal. Otherwise, you're starting from scratch. Let's be honest about the situation.
Yeah,
you're starting from scratch. If you're looking for 2 Jermon McCoys every year, you ain't gonna find one. It's just not gonna happen. You ain't gonna find one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the transfer portal is kind of like you want depth pieces. You want that top guys. Like, you needed a Lance Hurd and Jermon McCoy. But having a guy like Miles Kitselman, that was a huge transfer. Jackson Moy was a pretty big transfer.
Keenan
Peely, yeah. Jacoby Thomas, like, he's had a role in this team. I think you need to, again, it's still like a good mix of, kind of your star power, and then just depth pieces.
Right. And I would say, too, there's also an element to the transfer portal where you can transfer to recruit, if that makes sense. Like, there's young guys in the portal that you can get that are essentially more part of that, like, freshman class, because they're not here to immediately impact.
Mm-hmm.
They're here they're going to be sophomores or they have 3 years of eligibility left, and they're going to grow within the program and hopefully be impact. So, there's also levels to the transfer portal too. So
yeah, agreed.
I can't imagine being, now all these college teams essentially have general managers. Shout out Andrew Luck. And they absolutely need a role. They've always had a role similar to that. I got to imagine, as far as rosters go, it's much more intensive now, trying to figure out how to manage resources and getting guys for specific roles. Now it has to be. They were talking about going back to Ohio State for a second. They're golly, why am I blanking on his name? They're talking about Tennessee Titans, Mike Vrabel. They're like, yeah. Mike Vrabel he's in conversation. He's going to come. Why would you ever want to go from the NFL to college? Mike Vrabel's in the NFL club. He can get another head coaching job.
Right.
Why would you ever want to do that? And then Urban Meyer, there's rumors that he might come back. Dude's going to have another heart attack if he has to deal with roster situations like this.
Wasn't there a story about Urban Meyer not knowing who Mike Vrabel was?
I have no idea.
They went to shake hand, he came up to Urban and was going to shake his hands before the Jaguars and Titans game, and he's like, "Do I know you?" And Vrabel's like, "Yeah, I'm the coach on the opposite sideline, you moron."
No, I didn't know. I don't remember that.
Yeah,
but
Urban in bad health, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, Vrabel doesn't have blonde hair, not down to his back. He's not interested.
Right. Well, so what was kind of your? Did you have faith in David Sanders, or were you a little bit worried? What kind of was your feeling with it?
I didn't think much of the Ohio State stuff. I didn't want to attempt to read too much into the Instagram stuff, and honestly, it all looked like it was going Tennessee's way. A lot of people, I think, were reading into it incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
But I still try not to care about that.
This is like your reaction from yesterday, like when he didn't sign, or just like when he visited Ohio State.
Well, I'm just the whole lead,
Okay,
like
the whole
thing.
Gotcha.
And I try not to look too much into it going in. And I kind of just had so far he's been a Tennessee guy. Some people that I don't want to quote anyone because I can't remember who I was listening to that said it. They were like, he's been honest with everyone he's talked about for the entire process, and he's still saying Tennessee. So that was making me think Tennessee. Yesterday, see, I didn't know. I assumed he was going to sign yesterday, but I didn't know if that was the plan either. So I didn't. It was still just kind of, why wouldn't it be Tennessee? Was my thought. Nothing else seems to not be. So it didn't work. Like, it didn't worry me that Tennessee was going to miss out on him.
Yeah. And this is kind of off speculation. I didn't know if it was planned either. Like when it came out he wasn't going to sign yesterday, there was a lot of speculation going around. I wonder, and there's a lot going on about like Providence Day and Charlotte. They do all their athletes at one time, and they do it like at a certain day. So he wasn't going to sign until next week. That's what people were saying. I don't know. But my speculation was, if that was the case, I think with everything going around the internet, he was just like, okay, I'll just go on Paul Feinbaum and just end it because I'm tired of hearing it. Because I was tired of reading it. So I know he was. It was about him.
Sure. Yeah, that again, that may very well. I just didn't know what the plan was, and I honestly didn't. I guess it wasn't like it wasn't like the gym was packed for him and he didn't show up because it was still being decided.
Right. And I mean, I don't know if that was. How many people are watching Paul Feinbaum like 4:00? I mean, I'm not. So I just saw it on Twitter.
When I used to work from home, I used to keep the SEC network running fairly often, definitely during football season, pretty often during basketball season. So Paul Feinbaum would be on my TV often, but I also didn't usually pay attention to what was being said.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. If I'm, from what I understand, I think it was just like, hey, let's just put it to rest. Like, I'm going to Tennessee. There's no more like, hey, reaching out. Oh, he just wants a bigger bag. It's a bidding war, stuff like that. It's just, he wanted to be at Tennessee, and he never wavered on that. Yeah, he did go take a visit to Ohio State.
Got use them or lose them.
Yeah, caught a game, whatever. I mean,
wish he had caught that Michigan game. That would have been sweet.
Well, me and Joey were talking about that. That might be the icing on the cake. He was like, I'm not going there.
Yeah, maybe so.
Speaking of that, Ryan Day's also a loser. So
speaking of that game, I want to read this comment because Ronnie's a loyal listener and commenter, and we appreciate that. And then also, sounds like Ronnie has a lot of experience getting tased and or pepper sprayed. I'm going to assume that means he's probably in law enforcement or military of some kind. Because don't they do that? Don't you have to be pepper sprayed and tased at some point?
I see all those videos, so I assume.
Right. But for the sake of this, I'm going to act like Ronnie is just he's just tangled up with the wrong crowd. He's just getting tased and pepper sprayed all the time.
I just want to feel something.
Yeah. He said, I can settle the tase versus pepper spray conversation. Definitely would rather be tased. The pepper spray reactivates in the shower and it runs down, burns everywhere. That sounds terrible. Taser feels like getting smacked in the back with a bow or longest 5 seconds ever, but after that, you're good. Yeah. So yeah, we said tase, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, we said
yeah. Okay.
Now, yeah. I mean, now that he kind of laid it out for me,
yeah.
I wasn't aware pepper spray in the shower burned everything. So yeah, I'm good.
Dude, imagine if you just like didn't scrub good and like you get in the next morning.
Yeah.
You get more of that. Ugh. All right.
Yeah, that's rough. Volpan for Life also said, what's up, people? How's everyone doing? I think this class is way better than the ranking show. Appreciate you hopping in here in the chat on YouTube. I'm doing well. Caleb, you doing well?
I'm doing good. I'm enjoying this this weather.
God, not me.
I'm not enjoying is the wrong word. I am glad it's finally cold. It felt like we were never going to get cold, and then it snowed the next day. It makes no sense.
So I guess since we've talked about David Sanders, we can go ahead and get into this class a little bit. So
Sure.
Signing day was yesterday. For anybody who missed that, and I thought it was a good day. I thought, initially when I was kind of making some notes, I'm like, well, it kind of sucks you don't have David Sanders kind of talk about, but then he surprised everybody. And thank you, Paul, for getting that done for us. I don't know if you had anything to do with
VFL.
it. You did. Some are saying
he did go to Tennessee.
He did
People
go,
forget.
but yeah.
You gotta love him at least right now. I mean, you have to.
Right. I just don't know how he gets that spot. Like, David Sanders, hit your boys up. We could break this story. There might be the same amount of people watching at 4:00. Who knows? But you landed 3 guys that you didn't currently have in your class yesterday, in Isaiah Campbell, Jaden Perlotti, and Timothy Merritt. And I think that's big, like boosting up that defense. You lose a lot on that defense next year. And then today you get an offensive lineman where you lose a lot of that offensive line. So I think Tennessee's kind of reloading on guys that they need. I'm sure they'll be in the portal for some different positions, but I think it's a good class overall. You got your offensive line, you got your quarterback, receivers. You landed 2 running backs. You had a good in-state crop that I really like. I thought the defensive line looks good. Linebackers might be the best in the country. Safety, defensive back, pretty good, but you're kind of set at corner for the next at least year. So
yeah,
I don't think you have to have any of those guys really try to step in and play a role. So yeah, overall, I think it's a really good class. Interested to see kind of who all's an early enrollee, who's not, who's going to turn some heads in bowl practice, and who are guys that we think will make a big impact and may not. We'll see kind of how everything plays out. For you, what are kind of 3 names? Just sorry to put you on the spot, Joey. You can get in here as well. That you kind of like in this class or excited to see wear some orange and white?
As far as this class goes, I mean, David Sanders is the obvious choice. I like that Isaiah Campbell looks like he's played in the league for 16 years.
He looks old.
We'll see how that plays out. You said 3 names.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to give you one more, and then I'm going to give you an honorable mention. It's got to be Rodarius Jackson.
Okay.
I hope. I mean, what is our deal with receivers right now? I don't know. I hope. I have high hopes, I guess is the right word for him.
Yeah.
He seems like he could. He's an athlete. Can we get the ball to our athletes? Can our athletes then catch the ball? And then can our athletes then run with the ball? That's what I would like to find out with Rodarius Jackson. And then after that, it's probably my honorable mention is probably Deshaun Brain.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a good group.
I like the tight end class. I like the tight end group in this class.
It's really good.
That's one of my favorite parts, and I almost wanted to mention them all. Maybe I'll do that for my honorable mention. Tight ends. If you are listed as a tight end, shout out to you.
Yeah, landing 2 4-stars and one Deshaun Brain might be one of the best in the country. I mean, what he was able to. I don't know how great football is in Kansas, I can't imagine very good. But him returning punts is just insane to me at 6'6". I mean, I think he's going to have to do like Ethan Davis and put on some weight and get that physicality. But, I mean, you put him in the slot if you have – whatever you have to do. Like, get this man the football. I really like that kid in Deshaun Brame for sure.
You mentioned that, him returning punts. And can I just add – I just need to tell a quick story because it jogged my memory. I had someone come into my place of work the other day and introduced myself. And they said, "Oh, you're a Mitchell." I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Are you related to Brad Mitchell?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Yeah, I went to school with him, played football with him." And they're like, "Man, that dude," he said, "he could return punts." He's like, "He's the best white dude I've ever seen return punts." And I was like, "Brad?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I knew Brad was a pretty good athlete in high school, but return punts? A Mitchell? What?" So shout out to Brad. And if you guys know my brother Brad, you can maybe verify or deny that story. It's up entirely up to you. But yeah,
6'6".
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought made the best of it. Opposite of 6'6".
Oh, Brad was a fart in a skillet.
I guess so. I guess so. Yeah. That would have blown Bobby Graham's mind. He thought it was crazy that I had caught a touchdown and kicked the extra point. Now you have a punter punting and returning said punts. Like,
yeah, you can do it all. Athlete, baby. Joey, who are your 3 that you really like in this 2025 class?
Did we decide that it's Deshaun? Like we're running with that because I hope
it is Deshaun. It is Deshaun Brame.
Every time I read it, I think it's Deshaun, and I like him simply.
I
because
messed that up. Yeah,
I thought I've seen every way to pronounce Deshaun, and that was about to be like the probably. Top, I mean, 3 A's and the H isn't even before the A. That would have been awesome. I think we should go with Deshaun anyway. Usually, players do well when we mispronounce their name anyway. So if we go with Deshaun.
Yeah, but then they correct it and we start sucking. They start sucking. So let's just nail it the first time.
Oh, well, that too. We could either we got to stick to a side. So, but yeah, Deshaun Brame's been on. I mean, was he number? He's one of the top tight ends in his class, right? Top 5.
Yeah, number 4, I think.
Number 4.
3. So,
yep.
Yeah.
George McIntyre. I mean, it's an obvious one, but
quarterback. He's always going to get.
It's your guy. Hopefully, yeah. I mean, you hope that he's someone that's going to help out. And then
he'll be the most famous guy on campus when he's a backup quarterback. 100%.
Right. Go ahead, Caleb.
I'm out on white quarterbacks.
Polynesian only.
Sorry, brother. I mean, just not white.
Oh, okay.
They're like level in which. I don't know how to really ask that.
Yeah, are you going to explain that, or you just that's it?
I've just liked the direction that Tennessee's headed the last few years. I'd like to. I mean, it just has seemed to work out well.
Okay, that is true. When's the last time we've had a white quarterback?
Harrison Bailey is probably the last quarterback to start at Tennessee who was white.
What about?
Didn't he start a game?
He started like 2 games.
Yeah, right? He started. He beat Vanderbilt
during 2020.
Vanderbilt. Yeah, something Alabama couldn't do.
True. Where's Harrison Bailey?
I was glad we didn't get Ty Simpson.
Harrison Bailey is a walk-on at Louisville, I'm pretty sure.
It's just funny to say out loud. And I'm not laughing at him. Just what a fall from grace. Like that's I feel for him.
Well, I mean, you know what's crazy is I think Brian Maurer went to Stephen F. Austin and still didn't start.
He did. I don't know what his depth chart role was, but I know he went to Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah. So, hey, great times.
Sure.
Yeah, I like the hometown kids for sure. Or I guess.
That's easy, killer.
I don't even know if local, but I like stealing people away from Nashville. The mid-state and having them come play at Tennessee. That is fun. It's really fun in baseball with Drew Beam and some of those guys, and then doing it in football just seems right too.
Yeah. Last one I was just Tyler Redmond, the cornerback, just because Milton. I like Milton, Georgia. I think that high school's absolutely stacked. People sleep on them, so I'm I don't know. I every time I see someone from Milton, I get a little itch.
So you like Dylan Lewis too, right?
Is he from Milton?
Oh yeah. They're both in the
Just one more
same secondary.
Literally bring just 3 stars and higher. Let's bring from Milton. Just give him a camp day. We'll pick 5 or 6.
See what they got.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might be wrong. This is why I'm not paid to coach. But
it is cool. Go ahead.
You mentioned hometown kid. I always forget until I go and start looking at Tennessee's list and rankings. Jefferson County High School has a 4-star offensive lineman on their team. I don't feel like he's gotten like a ton of love in just like the prep community, like most 4-stars would. Am I wrong? Did I just not follow closely enough this season?
I think you're right that like I think it's probably because an interior offensive lineman probably doesn't get that same love as a David Sanders. But
yeah, but if they played a Catholic, they would.
You're right.
I've seen him play a Catholic and get it.
Yeah. I consider Nick Moore very much like a Cooper Mays. Like everybody wanted Cade out of high school, and Cooper was just like, oh yeah, well, we'll take this center. I think Nick Moore is kind of the same way.
That'd be sweet.
And I think he is going to play center or at least guard at Tennessee. So just get local kids and have them play center at Tennessee. I think that's what we should do.
His head coach played center for Peyton.
Yep. Learns from the best.
I'm back in on white quarterbacks. Good point, Landon.
That was my whole goal in that conversation. Just bring you back. My 3 would be Travis Smith is definitely one. Big wide receiver guy. I think he is a absolute dude. 6'3", 200 pounds, can play that outside. I think he's if he's committed to Georgia or Alabama, I think he's probably close to a 5-star, in my opinion.
That's fair.
I think he's that good. I think the same high school that Cam Newton came from too. So
Westlake.
Yep.
Is that Cam Newton's?
Yeah. And then I just think one of the linebackers is probably going to have a lot of playing time next year. I like Jaden Harmon at Rome. I watched his highlights last night, and my God. Heat-seeking missile is what Jaden Harmon is. And, any player that's on this list that was down to Tennessee and Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio State, like those are the battles you need to win to compete. And Tennessee won a lot of those battles during this recruiting process. So I think Jaden Harmon will be one. I think Christian Gass is another one that I want to see. Deshaun Brain was definitely up there for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think another, and we're talking about hometown, which out of that mid-state is DeJuan Morris, who just scores and scores and scores and scores and scores at Oakland, who is probably the top public school in Tennessee right now. So I'm excited to see kind of what he can do in a Tennessee uniform. You're kind of in on him late, get the flip from USC, and a lot of people have compared him to a young Dylan Sampson, and can catch the football, can play a little bit in the slot. So excited to kind of see what he can do for Tennessee in the future.
Yeah. And then if you're going to the TWSAA Blue Cross Blue Shield bowl games, Brendan, is it Ains? Brendan Ains?
Ains?
Is it Ains?
I think it's Ains. Yeah.
Playing against the Sevier County Smoky Bears.
Yeah,
Friday.
when is that?
I think they're Friday night. I think they're a Friday night game. Yeah.
Okay.
They are a Friday night. Or sorry, I don't know what time of day it is. I think there's 3 tomorrow, but it's a Friday. It's tomorrow.
Okay, cool. I do like how
I'm gonna be honest. I kind of, as a Sono guy, we competed in the IMAC, had some heated moments with Sevier County. Part of me is rooting for them a little bit. Like, go get it. It kind of came out of nowhere in 5A. Not the team people were picking.
Yeah.
Had to beat West and Oak Ridge to get there.
Yeah, with a sophomore quarterback too, right?
I mean, young, just group as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, go get you one. Why not?
Why not? Why not?
It is cool in this class that you have like guys that have played on the same team. You have two guys from Milton, you have two guys from Buford. Justin Baker, the running back commit, and Jaden Perlotti, who you flip from USC. Also, USC. Lincoln Riley's having a bad one.
Where are they at? They lose a lot. I didn't even notice. I knew Perlotti.
And then DeJuan Morris, we took him too. So yeah, just not
was he
loving.
he was USC?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. Okay.
Yeah. So Dylan Lewis, Tyler Redmond are at Milton in that secondary, and then Justin Baker, Jaden Perlotti at Buford. So two really good programs in the state of Georgia, and Tennessee able to land them. Also, you've landed a lot of kids like are really good in Tennessee. Like you land a kid from Baylor and Joakim Dotson, and then Brandon Ains that we already talked about at Page. Brentwood Academy, you have George McIntyre, Nick Moore, Jefferson County. I mean, they're, I think, decent, but not like some of these private schools. DeJuan Morris at Oakland. Yeah, I thought you did pretty well with guys in state. And, I think all around is a good class. I think you finish out top 10 and you land your prize one and David Sanders earlier today, and that's kind of all you needed.
USC is still at 14th. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I know they lost their quarterback too. I'm sure they got another one, but
they signed Hassan Longstreet.
Okay.
Who was their quarterback before that?
It was Julian Lewis.
Okay.
He went to Colorado.
They make Heisman contending quarterbacks apparently there.
Yeah. Well, they just lost Miller Moss, so still haven't learned how to play defense. Crazy.
Yeah, USC team's really good, as was proven against Notre Dame this week.
Yeah.
So.
Who's besides David Sanders, who is somebody that you think like, I mean, that kid's gonna play early freshman? And it doesn't. I mean, we're not in the weeds. We don't know what these kids really look like, but it is cool to kind of be like, oh, I was right about him.
Yeah, I think just because of Tennessee's needs in the future, or looking at next year, I'm gonna guess it's gonna be someone across that defensive line. And I don't know. It could be like Joshua Joseph's impact freshman year, just sparingly here and there. Mm-hmm. We know they play a lot of guys. That's why I'm kind of leaning someone across that defensive line. But I don't know if it's Marion Dye or Isaiah Campbell, but I mean, I feel like those are my two. So one of them is going to get the chance to make an impact.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Marion Dye is probably, like you said, kind of could play a role, kind of like Caleb Herring did a year ago, yeah. Joshua Josephs. I was thinking somebody maybe in the secondary, I don't know who that is, but could have a role like Idris Farouk a little bit, can come in and kind of flash a little bit at the end of games.
Well, that's one thing. We have rotated more as secondary than Josh Heupel ever has this year. Or I guess Tim Banks is probably the better person whose name. And
also was kind of worried about safety a little bit, but Jacoby Thomas is just a junior, so I think that's big. I'll just assume he was a senior from MTSU, but yeah, he's just a junior. So yeah, maybe somebody like a Sidney Walton or a Dylan Lewis, Tyler Redmond, maybe in that secondary that you could see have some playing time at some point.
Right.
Yeah. Who is position wise? Who do you think had the best class so far within Tennessee's
tight ends? It's still it's tight ends for me.
I think so too. Well, I think linebackers, and then I think tight ends.
Linebackers are really, really, really solid. I think this tight end group's just kind of like it. I feel like the last few tight end groups that have been at Tennessee, you've been like, yeah, That tight end's good at that thing. That tight end, I feel like these three can be just good tight end, like really, really good tight ends.
I mean, 2.
I thought we signed a third.
No, Deshaun Brame and Jack Van Dorsel.
Van Dorsum.
Yeah, just the 2.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, I think that's number 2 for me. I would just go linebacker from the quality. Jaden Perlotti, Jaden Harmon, Christian Gass, which could be used more of an edge guy too, because he is 6'3", 220. And then Brendan Ains, who has just been a force for that Page defense for years. And I think he's one of the, like, he could have like a Jeremiah Telander type year. I think so.
Jeremiah Telander this year? Or
his
freshman Jeremiah Telander. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Come in kind of under the radar type guy that just kind of outworks some people and see ball, go get ball.
Sure.
Rodarius Jackson is somebody that I am excited to see. Like, Sheffield and Memphis isn't like a huge school or anything. It's not like a high tier program. Like, you've got some of these guys, Ethan Utley from Innsworth and Brentwood Academy, Baylor. So I'm interested to see kind of what he can do, because I know Ole Miss was really in on that one, and for Tennessee to land him, even though he's in state, is a lot closer to Ole Miss. Is something I'm interested in seeing.
Yeah.
And some people have him as the number 1 player in the state.
Oh, really? Who was that? I didn't see that. Which services?
On3 has him the number 1 player in the state.
Okay. So Rivals probably has him at like 8th.
7th. ESPN 9th.
I feel like Rivals and On3 are always opposites of each other. It's very interesting to always see that, like how they pick those.
Yeah. I do love the how it's everything is different. Like, ESPN has not. I mean, 247 has him 10th. Like, can we not just have one and just kind of agree? I don't know. Is it just based off a camp performance? Is that the difference in first and 10th?
Probably. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, good class. Good class. Anything else before we kind of?
No.
Let's. What was kind of your weakest position if you had to pick one?
I don't know if you need.
Mine would probably be secondary. Just like you just don't have the highly touted recruits there. Now, still could be super talented, and Tennessee has found ways to develop some of those guys. Like, I mean, Ricky Gibson, I think it was a 4-star, but wasn't a high 4-star. I mean, Will Brooks, walk on. But yeah, I'd like to see, like, losing Shady Hayward. I know was tough, so I think that's probably a opportunity of improvement for next year. Is just that secondary recruiting.
Sure. Mine would, and I'm not saying you necessarily need this position or anything, and so it's hard to exactly say this, but I would like to see us going every year trying to get a group of running backs. I think that's a position that's tough to, especially the way Tennessee's gone about it. And I know they really like what they've got right now. And so I know it's not a need. And then in Justin Baker, they like what they've signed. It's one of those things that I'm okay with a running back leaving it, transferring out every year if they aren't cutting it. Like, that's just is what it is. It feels like just part of how that room exists. But I mean, you see how injuries come up. And I mean, Deshaun Bishop came out of nowhere to play in that Vanderbilt game. I thought we were out of running backs. I didn't know what we were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I'd like to see us being more proactive in that department every year.
Yeah.
I'm not super worried about it though.
Yeah, I mean, like they've gotten production out of pretty much everybody who's ran the football this year. But yeah, you would like to it'd be really cool if like the top running back in the country when they come to Tennessee, because you see what Dylan Sampson's done. But Dylan Sampson was also one of those guys that, I mean, when he signed at Tennessee, you're like, okay, he's the second running back because Justin Williams-Thomas was, in front of him, and then he just took off. So
right.
I think that's a position where I think you can do more with less sometimes.
I think you can do more with more often.
Okay. Yeah, that's true too. But yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more from that, sure. But I mean, you come here to Tennessee, you're going to be able to get as many yards as you want to. Like, it's wide open.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Run the dang ball.
Yeah, and they will. I'm not. It's certainly not anything I'm upset about. So
yeah. All right, let's move on a little bit from recruiting, and let's get in this playoffs.
Yeah, let's get into playoffs. And before we do that, if you would allow me to bore everyone, I would like to give you the best 12-team proposal for how college football is currently structured. Because I have a better proposal that would require an entire overhaul of this crappy system, starting from the ground up. But that's not going to happen. So can I give you my best proposal, how we have it right now?
Sure. I'd love nothing more.
Awful teams. This is the college football playoff, how it should be in today's crappy landscape, in today's crappy college football landscape. I'll start out with one that I know is not going to be popular amongst the crowd, those of which are apparently there are many Notre Dame fans. I don't think as many exist anymore. When's the last time you ran into a Notre Dame fan?
I don't know any.
So can we quit pretending they're this premier college football brand? It's time to stop. But because I'm not going to win that argument, I'm okay with not winning that argument. Here's my offer to them, Landon. This is a rule in the College Football Playoff Committee. Notre Dame gets to play in an auto bid every single year if they go 10-2. If they win 10 games, they have a chance to be in the College Football Playoff. Here's the caveat.
Okay.
No more non-Power 5 auto bids into the playoff. They get to play Notre Dame in a play-in game. One spot to either a non-Power 5, the number one non-Power 5, the highest ranked non-Power 4 conference champion is either directly in the tournament, in the playoff, or they play Notre Dame if they win 10 games to get into the playoff.
Okay.
It's very clear Notre Dame's going to get in if they win 10 games, and that's outrageous.
Yeah. Join a conference, you fraud.
And they never have to play in a conference game. Here they do. Here they have to play in a conference game, if you will.
I'm going to look up Notre Dame's schedule next year because I want to see, like, are they just flipping their schedule too? They just get to play the same teams?
So they don't play in the ACC, but somehow got to play the two worst teams in the ACC this year, by the way. Would like to note that. I don't know how that happens. So that's my first rule. Let them in. They can be in. Fine. Don't care. But they have to get there.
Okay. I'm okay. If next year if they win it, if they go 10-2, I think they deserve to be in with their schedule.
What do they have?
They have Miami, A&M, Purdue, Arkansas, Boise State, USC, Navy, Boston College, NC State, Syracuse, Pitt.
Okay, but what if they lost to Arkansas and Miami? because Tennessee. We were acting like Tennessee wasn't going to get in at 10-2 because they lost to Arkansas and Georgia.
Then they would beat Texas A&M. They would beat Purdue, Boise State, USC.
Don't say Texas A&M like that's a badge of honor to beat them.
Yeah, but like I think that deserves to be in. If you go 10-2 with that schedule, I don't think I'm mad that they get in.
I think it entirely depends. That's the rule, right? It entirely depends, but it's very clear they only have to go 10-2. If they can get in, if they can be number 4 in the country with the one loss they have, they'd get in no matter what at 10-2. Doesn't matter who they lose to, how the schedule lays out, they're getting in 10-2. I think this is a rule. This is a rule they have to deal with until they join a conference.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Number 2, non-power 5s are still eligible to be ranked in the top 12. But their losses have to be treated the same in that if Boise State loses this week, Landon, we get the mayhem of you cannot take them out of the playoff.
Okay.
That's the rule. If you're willing to rank them in the top 12, you have to be committed that they are a top 12 team.
Yeah.
1 through 4 auto bids only go to Power 4 conferences. The non-Power 5 team cannot be the number 4. The non-Power 4 team cannot be an auto bid or an auto buy. Excuse me.
Okay.
If Notre Dame doesn't win 10 games, they get to be in the playoff. If I've already made a mistake. If like it's Boise State this year and they're a top 12 team, Notre Dame gets to play the second ranked highest non-power 4. They might get in. We might get 2 in. That's how we get 2 in. Notre Dame would probably lose to them and lose in Northern Illinois. My last one for now, I've got a few more, but that I got to iron out. My last one for now is head-to-head matters. If two teams with the same record played each other, head-to-head has to be ranked ahead of them. Why do we play the games? There have to be hard, fast rules for this committee. We can't let them continue making it up as they go for everything. I'm sick of them going, this team looks better than the other. They played. It doesn't matter if it was week 1, week 5, last week. If they played head-to-head, it has to matter.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's that simple. That's what I don't understand. How can the NCAA teams not go, we're going to make some rules for them? There have to be some rules. Because according to this committee, they can look at a 6-6 team and go, they're really good. We think they're the best 12 team, one of the best 12 teams. They're in. According to their rules, they can do that.
Kansas. Well, until they got beat by Baylor, but I was in on Kansas being in the college football playoff.
I think according to the rules they've been making up right now today, could you really confidently say Ole Miss and Alabama are better than South Carolina? According to their rules.
I don't know. I keep hearing just I'm so tired of hearing Ward, whatever his last name is, just go on there and just talk in circles.
Yeah.
And we do the college football selection show, and it's just a drool over Alabama fest. Like, good God.
And by the way, I say the head-to-head thing, knowing good and well that puts Alabama in the playoff over South Carolina. And that's fine with me because I think head-to-head should matter.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't think it should matter. I think it has to matter. Why else do we line up and play the games?
But Ole Miss's resume is way better than Alabama's.
Yeah, they haven't played, so that's more of a decision making.
Yeah, I just don't understand how. Ole Miss dog walked South Carolina. Alabama beat them by 2. So at Alabama. But Ole Miss, Yeah, they lost to Florida, but at least it was competitive. It was at Florida. I mean, Alabama looked like a JV team against Oklahoma.
Alabama looked bad against Oklahoma, and that's one thing they forget. And I hate to sound like I'm bidding for Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer needs to come out and say this right here. If he wants to be the troll that he pretends he wants to be, like Lane Kiffin level troll, here's what you come out and say. If the committee can essentially void 13 wins to 0 losses because of an injury, they should be able to objectively look at the LSU South Carolina game and award us a win, which puts us at 10-2 and into the playoff. They should be able to do that if they can say, oh, that team stinks now. Even though they haven't lost yet, that team stinks now. They have to be able to do that. That's rules they've made, that they can look at those things and make those decisions. Even though we've seen the outcomes, they know better than us.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, South Carolina should have beaten LSU. And how would you not have them at number 9, at least at that point? Or I guess it'd be number 11 at least at that point, if not 12.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 12. Maybe it'd be Miami ahead of them at that point. Yeah. The rules they continue making up make no sense. They need. I think the presidents and ADs need to decide that the games they play throughout the year have to matter.
I mean, if I'm looking at I keep hearing the eye test, but the eye test only matters if it's relevant at that point in time.
Sure.
The eye test right now tells me that out of those 3 SEC teams that could get that last spot, Alabama would be last.
Alabama on eye test would probably be last for me as well right now. Yeah.
Because they struggled with Auburn and they got blown out by a terrible Oklahoma team.
That Oklahoma game would have me pretty torn up. And same thing, obviously Notre Dame only has 1 loss, but how do you eye test wise not go back and go, this team lost to Northern Illinois? That is something that a college ball playoff team should not be capable of doing. Which is a whole nother, it's a whole interesting wrinkle to the Ohio State thing, because we talk about recency bias, all of a sudden that's not a thing. They don't care about recency anymore. Someone made the argument that by this point in the season, like, you know who those teams are. No, you have 12 games to prove who you are. If you can't prove who you are over 12 games, then that's on you. The committee shouldn't just help you and boost you for that. And I'll say that as a Tennessee fan. And my team sucked on the road against Arkansas. And if they want to go back and say, yeah, we have you behind Ohio State for that, we remember that one. Okay, and then I'm going to ask you why Ohio State doesn't get punished for Michigan. But, I get why we're behind Notre Dame for the sheer fact that, we haven't looked great all year. I don't exactly understand why Notre Dame's ahead of Georgia. Georgia, in the times they've looked bad, have still looked far better than Notre Dame.
What the heck's Penn State done to be at 3?
Why is Penn State at 3 and Indiana at 9?
Yeah.
What's the difference? What is the difference?
No
They
clue.
should have lost to Minnesota.
Yep. No clue.
They've blown out the same bad teams, Landon. You know the only difference? The only difference is Indiana has a really tough win against Michigan. Yet they sit back there. They make up the rules as they go, and they don't make sense.
Yeah. Again, let's go back to a computer and having guys just sit around and talk in circles about who is who. I mean, there's no consistency.
Computer
dropped Georgia at 9 spots for losing on the road to Ole Miss. Ohio State lost at home to Michigan.
To a far worse
6
team.
and 5 Michigan. Michigan didn't even have to throw a pass. They don't even have a quarterback. Their quarterback almost lost them the game because he's that bad. They didn't even have to have a quarterback, and Ohio State fell 4 spots And guess what, Caleb? We'll just go in here and reward them. They don't have to play the next week, and they still get a home playoff game. What are we doing? And also, Ward, you Michigan AD, you are a
coward, fraud.
I mean,
you can't be a rival. You're no longer a rival. The Michigan-Ohio State, it's such a big rivalry. The hate is real. They would have been at number 5. If I'm on that committee, Alabama would be at number 15 after that loss if I'm the chairman. That's not a rivalry. It's not a rivalry. It's fraudulent. You all love each other. You love each other. You all are like SEC pride. You beat your chest about it. Oh, the Michigan AD kept his arch rival after a loss to them when they're rich rod level in the playoff hosting. He loves Ohio State. The game. Drop it. Drop the mantra. It's all fraudulent.
And
Ohio
if you
State's going to start putting an M in their school name.
The game, I mean, you're not going to win a game in the college football playoff. And I'm not even like, people are ups. They're like going at Tennessee fans saying, oh, y'all are scared to go on the road. It's not that we're scared to go on the road. It's because we won a home playoff game and we're getting shitted on because the committee refuses to show unbiased to the Big Ten. Like the Big Ten, it should just be the Big Ten playoff. If that's all we care, the Big Ten and Alabama and Notre Dame, that's the only people they want to win a national championship at this point.
Don't give them what they want. Don't do it.
I mean, and this week we'll see what happens, but I have zero faith in the committee that they do anything about these. If Penn State gets blown out by Oregon, are you still going to have them at number 3?
And again, too, I think I don't want to go back to computers necessarily. I want hard, fast rules. Here's the thing. You should be able to go into this week with a hard, fast rule of like either you can't lose. Either one, you cannot lose an ability to host as in a conference championship game, or you can, and whatever happens on the field, we will evaluate. Because right now they're just like, we'll see what happens. They won't be punished. But what does that mean? What does they won't be punished mean?
Right. Yeah. He had no like example or explanation for
these children need
what would happen.
These children need rules. This is what happens when you don't have structure in a household. They just run rampant with crazy ideas and the place goes nutso. Give them rules. Piece of paper. I don't care if they know them by heart. You can have some lawyer in the corner going, can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. And they're like, oh, that's right. Oh, I don't care. They don't need to know them by heart. But someone needs to be the adult in the room. That's what needs to happen.
Also,
the inmates are running the asylum.
If you're that important, have some balls about you.
Yeah, stand up and say it. Don't give us this lawyer speak when you start talking. Politician crap.
I just love his whole thing when he was asked about Ohio State. And they're like, yeah, we sat around and talked about it for a little bit, and we just ended up on Ohio State. That literally tells me zero factual information. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was like, very similar resumes. Ohio State is 2-1 against top 10 teams. I mean, he pointed out Ohio State, what they did good. They have the one win over Indiana and the win over Penn State.
Who is not a top 10 team according to you. According to your ranking, Indiana is not. Oh, sorry, they're number 9. I thought they had them at I thought they were at 11. That's Alabama. Apologies. But also they should be top 5 according to your ranking, but it should have helped you. Go
on. Also, like, everybody knows those two teams should not be there.
Sure.
From what we've seen from the one good team that they played. One of their 2 losses is to the number 1 team in the country, and then obviously the loss to Michigan last week. I mean, you just had to throw in the Michigan. Like, you just like, oh, yeah, they lost Michigan too, whatever. But it was like when they're talking about a new drug or medicine or something, and then there's like that fast speak that no one can understand at the end, and they lost to Michigan at the end. That's what it sounded like to me. And then they said Tennessee also had an impressive resume. They have 2 losses against Arkansas and against number 5 Georgia. We waited to the very last second to throw in a Michigan loss, but we couldn't wait to throw in that Arkansas loss in Tennessee's fans' faces. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I hate to tell you that does sound chronological. He did scapegoat the Michigan one, but that is chronologically how it happened on both teams.
That's true. But
it's also interesting.
Recency has to be something.
But it's also interesting that Alabama gets zero punishment for the embarrassment on the road at Oklahoma, yet Tennessee gets no credit for the win, and that was not a 10-point win. I need to point that out. That was a stomping that looked close because of a late touchdown. So get on your iPads and watch the game. Don't box score watch.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to give a team zero punishment for losing to the same team, give the team credit for beating them.
Well, when Ole Miss was ahead of Tennessee, where was the Kentucky game being thrown in their face? At home. That's what's mind-boggling about this whole thing. Everybody keeps saying it's so hard to win on the road. It's so hard to win on the road. But we're not punishing teams to win at home.
Yeah.
Michigan is a terrible football team. They were so bad they fired their offensive coordinator after a win against their arch rival.
The playoff is dumb. I'm out on Michigan.
I can't wait for it. But I just want a home game. Like, that's all I really want. I want to freeze my ass off in Neyland Stadium cheering on the Vols and Nico just humming the ball through the air and Dylan Sampson running for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns and no one's really talking about it. Like, that's what I want. Jermon McCoy making another interception. I want that. But we'll play anybody anywhere.
Yeah, I would rather have a home playoff game, but if we got to go to Columbus, we got to go to Columbus.
We're in the playoff. That's one good thing. I mean, I know Alabama gets to kind of sneak in here. Shout out Miami. But Tennessee's in the playoff and doesn't really have to worry about not being in the playoff come championship week. Do you think anything happens to Georgia? Like, is there any way that if they lose to Texas, they drop a little bit?
That's another thing. How? Because according to their ranking, they should lose. Like, so if they lose by 7, like, that seems like a nothing burger, according to how the college football playoff believed them to be ranked.
Yeah.
Even though, and I know Georgia stands there with 2 losses, even though that game, another game that was not close. They've played, and I know it's not the same, and that's not a hard, fast rule. Just because they played, one should be ranked. Only if the records are the same. But Texas with no impressive wins. Are we really giving them? We giving them their flowers for a win over at the time 9-3, now 8-4 A&M team?
Vanderbilt
7.
They beat Michigan.
That Oklahoma one was really good, but only for Texas.
Yeah. Michigan was a good one.
But yeah, I mean, that's not a crazy impressive. Like, that resume, in my opinion, is not enough for me to not say, yeah, Georgia's a better team. They beat them. And then, Landon, here's another question. Outside of one game early in the year, Georgia being the one game, what makes Alabama's resume better than Miami's?
Yeah, it's not.
Not that Miami's is impressive or anything, but when you couple in not really any good, one good win, and then you have that stomping at LSU, which I'll give you due for that, but at the same time, we now know that LSU team is awful. Outside of that, they just have 3 not great losses. Well, sorry. 1 abhorrent loss. 1 loss that hasn't happened in 80 years or something.
Yeah.
And then 1 that's just becoming commonplace.
Well, Oklahoma wasn't a good win for Tennessee, but now it's an okay loss for Alabama, which is crazy.
Right. Miami's losses. Again, this is the recency bias hurting Miami, not hurting Alabama, and not hurting Ohio State. Their losses came to Georgia Tech, they've been decent all year, and then they've looked good on the back end of this season. They played
Georgia.
I think they played Notre Dame to 10 points. They beat Miami. They almost beat Georgia. Yet that 5-point win over Miami is really crushing Miami. They lose a late one to Syracuse, who's ranked number 22 now. Why is Alabama's resume that much better than Miami's?
What are you going to do with SMU if they lose to Clemson?
That's another thing. They have said they won't punish them. You can't drop them out of the playoff if Clemson wins.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that's going to be interesting. If you're going to punish SMU, you have to punish everybody who loses.
Yes.
But I think, and I think the committee is hoping SMU just takes care of business and wins, so they don't have to worry about that. But I think they dropped Ohio State only 4 spots, and then they can say like, "Oh yeah, we didn't have." Well, like they weren't planning on dropping anybody after that.
Right. Miami.
Except for Miami. Yeah, which is I mean, Georgia lost to Ole Miss and dropped 9 spots. Tennessee beat Florida and dropped 4 spots.
That was in the AP, not the.
That's correct. But the AP it seems
they're closely aligned. Yeah.
Except this week that everybody had Tennessee above Ohio State, and then the one that matters and sucks has to put. And it could work itself out where Tennessee, like if Oregon blows the doors off Penn State, I think you have to drop them. But they put them all the way
at State's resume, like they should still be ahead of Tennessee. Again, the logic is not strong with this group, so I don't think they'll follow their own logic. But the logic would still, at this current time, would have them ahead. But also Indiana's ranked 4 spots behind Tennessee. So again, or 3 spots behind, 2 spots behind, I can't count. The logic is not strong with this group. So
but you got to put Penn State, if they lose, behind Ohio State, right?
But I have that hard, fast rule. They don't.
I don't think they do either, but I feel like
logic tells you, but be careful bringing logic into this. Yeah. Be careful.
And then Alabama, with what it probably changes, but what it is right now, Alabama plays Notre Dame, and then they'll play SMU. Is the 2 games they get. Tennessee right now has Ohio State and Oregon.
Bring it on.
Yeah. I mean, just the easiest path they give it to Alabama. That's crazy.
Here's my question. If Georgia goes and beats Texas, just demolishes them, Oregon plays a tight one at Penn State, is Georgia the 1 seed?
Over if Oregon
plays a tight one with Penn State and Georgia blows the doors off of Texas.
No, they wouldn't. They'd probably move up to number 2.
Yeah, but
yeah, Oregon's undefeated, so they would still be number 1, I would think.
I mean, they should be, I would assume at that point. But also, if we're going by eye test,
if UNLV beats Boise State, is Boise State still in?
The chaos that we need to happen in terms of just let's have a ball with this is Boise State needs to lose and SMU needs to lose.
Yeah. Yep.
And then let the craziness ensue.
Yeah, because then there will go Alabama and Penn State will both be out, right? Or Alabama and Indiana will both be out.
Alabama, Miami.
Well, Miami's not in it right now. Not in the playoff.
Right. So yeah. Well, no, then it probably would be Alabama, Boise State would probably be out, I'd imagine, at that point. But again, we're not supposed to be punishing people for losses this week. I think they have to punish Boise State, but it's going to be interesting to hear them justify it.
Because their one loss was to who?
It's the number one team.
Oregon, who you just went on there and said, like, Ohio State's the reason they didn't drop is because their one of their losses was the number one team in the country.
Yeah. And this is where they just put themselves in a conundrum. Just never rank a Power 5 team above number 12, and you don't have to have this conversation.
Yep.
Like, are they that stupid?
Answer is yes.
If I'm someone on that committee, I would have walked in and gone, it doesn't matter if we had Boise State at number 1 this week. The last week going into it, they're 13th.
Yeah.
I don't care what's happened. They force their own hand. But the problem is they get to make up their own rules. And so they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. It sucks that we have to kind of wait till, is it Tuesday when they'll do that again?
I thought selection show after conference championship was on Sunday.
Is it Sunday? Okay.
I think so.
That's what I thought. Got an email about parking. And they said Monday. Well, I was like, okay, maybe it is before. But yeah, we have to wait till Sunday to kind of figure out what is going to happen. So
can't wait.
All right, let's
we probably hold on. Let's plan our Sunday show here real quick, just in case.
Okay.
Oh, it's at 12 p.m. We're good.
Oh, it's at noon?
Yeah. Nooner.
Okay. Nooner. Oh God. We're going to Happy Valley. Is that what James Franklin said? There's nothing better than Happy Valley at noon.
Happy Valley at noon.
Yeah.
No better place in the world than Happy Valley. Or maybe just said country. Maybe he didn't commit himself to the whole world. But yeah. I'm going to talk about that. Tennessee basketball. I love that, with all this chaos going on with football, Tennessee is just sitting here undefeated and probably going to be the number one team in the country next week. I just want to be not negative because I'm saying it jokingly a little bit, but can I just be negative off the rip?
Yeah.
This lines up perfectly for us to go to freaking New York City on a weeknight. Why do we keep playing in that place? Like, we're now going to go play and shoot terribly in there as the number one team in the country. Who is making the schedule?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I thought we'd have to kind of climb the rankings. I mean, we just keep winning and other people keep losing in front of us, so we just keep moving up.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm done with those games.
I mean, we shoot so bad in Madison Square Garden, and we'll be right back there. I mean, just like leave Chaz Lanier at home so his confidence doesn't get stunted.
Yeah. So Tennessee was number 3 entering the week. Kansas loses a bad one to Creighton. Kansas looks horrible. They've had the same team for like 4 years. It's Hunter Dickinson, DeJuan Harris, and KJ Adams. I'm done.
How does Hunter Dickinson have any more eligibility?
Dude, I don't know. I guess he was just patient 0 with COVID. He got like 2 or 3 COVID years. I don't know.
I mean, like, how many years did he get?
He's been there for a while. I mean, he was at Michigan forever.
Michigan for like, it felt like a decade.
Yeah. It's like, dude, don't you like want to do something else at some point? Like,
yeah. Have you ever thought about selling insurance?
Like, I've worked the same job for like 7 years, but I've done like 3 or 4 different jobs while I've been there. Like, I get tired of it. I guess we have been doing this podcast now for 9 years, which is crazy.
This will be year 8.
8 years. Sorry, 8 years.
And about the same time, Hunter Dickinson's been in school.
Yeah.
This is apparently only his 5th year. I just have a hard time believing that. I think they're hiding something from us.
Yeah. They thought they got away with one. But Chaz Lanier, Hooper.
Yeah, I mean, I get trying to compare him to Dalton Connect, and I think in terms of who he's going to be for your team, he's a Dalton Connect, but different player. But man, can the guy play?
Yeah,
I don't
he's
think we
fun
need
to
to compare
watch.
him.
And, no, and like Tennessee only has like what 8 guys playing, 9 guys. I think 9. I think they have 9 scholarship players, but the team feels so deep.
Yeah.
With only 9 players. You're getting really good bench play from, Jordan Gainey, Cade Phillips both had 12 points the other night against Syracuse. I mean, Bishop Boswell isn't playing a lot. Dubar isn't playing a lot. But, like, those are guys that can come in and play some minutes if you have to have them.
Right.
Igor,
I don't
think
like.
is playing really well.
I love Igor's game. I hope he can. I know it started off slow, so I hope he can kind of continue getting comfortable. And I like his game a lot.
Agreed. And Zakai's kind of that do-it-all facilitator, and like
real quick on Igor before we get away from him. I like he's one of those guys that I think is going to, whether he's playing really good or not that day, his willingness to drive the ball, get the ball to the hole, I think is one that can easily rub off on other people and can help really make the defense play the full court, not just defend us on the arc, which, I mean, everybody's moving. That's one thing that I've noticed jump off the page to me this year is that the offense feels more fluid. It feels like it's always flowing with this group. But I think his willingness to get to the hole and the dude can just flat out play. Like he can get around guys. Seems very easy for him. And it's not just him that's willing to get to the hole this year either. I mean, Chaz Lanier will go when he needs to. He loves to shoot the 3-ball. Don't blame him. Jamah's a guy that loves getting to the hole too. So, yeah, I think he's going to be a big
Jordan Gainey's done a good job of that too this year.
Well, and Jordan Gainey, I'm glad you mentioned him after I mentioned Jamal Meshack. I think they both improved a lot. I think what they've done is they've done a good job of filling the gaps in their game that were missing. I don't know how much they've necessarily improved overall, just like the individual parts of their game, but like Jamal, you just want him to be able to shoot the ball better. And you want him to be not a focal point of the offense, but a guy you can go to on offense and get points. And he's been that. Jordan Gainey, I thought he was a good defensive player, just plays like a coach's son, but I think he's drastically improved from what we've seen this year as a defense player. And then, yeah, his ball handling, and like you said, he's not just playing on the outside anymore.
Yeah, and like last year, it felt like when Zakai was sitting on the bench, like everybody felt it and knew it.
Yeah.
This year so far, you just don't like Jordan Gainey can run the point, Meshack can run the point. I think Chaz Lanier can bring the ball up the court if he had to. Like, there's just guys like it just works. I really don't know how to explain it other than like you're getting good post play. You have that shooter in Chaz Lanier. You have the facilitator with Zakai. The defense is always going to show up. It just works. It's a puzzle piece that you really didn't know what you're going to get. I think the rankings, like you saw a huge mix in rankings in the preseason. Like no one knew what Tennessee was going to be. And they just reload after losing, an all-conference big man, the NBA probably rookie of the year and Dalton Connect, which should have been the national player of the year. You lose another big guy in Tobe Awaka. You lose two of your veteran leaders in Santi and Josiah, and now next week you're going to be the number one team in the country.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Absolutely.
And, I was talking about good post play. That boy Cade Phillips can play.
So what's funny is before he made that first bucket on Tuesday night, I think he made a pretty good defensive play. He did something that me and my brother both commented, like, that was we like what we've seen from Cade this year. Like he's going to help us. And I said, yeah, and he's a good presence and he plays good defensively, and I think you'll get some quality minutes out of him, and you'll be happy if he scores 5 points. Like I don't think you need a lot from him. And then he went back to back possessions scoring. I was like, okay, or 6 is what I meant. And then goes on to score 12. And yeah, I mean, he's not going to be a guy that fills up the stat sheets most nights, but he's a big impact on the defensive side of the court, especially. But just he's a good presence in the middle and very athletic. Kind of surprised you how athletic he is. No offense, Cade. You just faster than you look.
Yeah,
jump higher than you look.
Yeah, Tennessee's I just feel like a lot more athletic all around than what they have been in the recent past. Like they can get out and run. I think Agpara is a huge part in that, where, just run the floor, man. Like that's where you're going to eat up points is rebounding, just being around the rim and running the floor. And it seemed like everybody kind of knows their roles and they're really good at that role. Like you have your superstar and Chaz Lanier, but also Igor played 19 minutes the other day, was 2 for 7, but like you mentioned, got to the free throw line, was 6 for 7 for that, had a double-double, 11 points, 10 rebounds in 19 minutes. Like that's quality basketball when you're in the game. And yeah, Tennessee's just playing like the first half against Syracuse. Syracuse isn't a great team. They were missing their best player, but still Tennessee covered the spread. It was like 21. They end up winning by 26. I forget how much they were ahead by 1 point. It was, I think, in the 30s. But like even we were up 10 at halftime, and we were like 5 for. It felt like 20 from the 3-point line. Like it was not a good shooting performance at all. And then Chaz Lanier gets hot in the second half, and you just kind of pour it on and just blow the doors off Syracuse.
It was crazy kind of how fast Tennessee was able to jump on them too. And I mean, part of that too, in the first half, man, they just knocked down some tough shots after tough shots. And then finally, when those stopped falling, all hell broke loose.
Well, in the second half, it seems like if Tennessee can find that lead in the first half, just like avoid a big run from another team, I think that defense wears on teams in the second half, and their shooting slumps start to happen. Then you have a guy like Chaz Lanier that can just, have 3 threes on you in a hurry, and then the game's out of hand.
Yeah.
Like when you're down 9 to Tennessee, it feels like you're down like by 25.
Yep.
Yeah, this team's fun to watch, man. I'm excited for the season. Like going into it, I was like, yeah, I mean they'll be okay. They'll be top couple teams in the SEC, and we'll see what they do in the tournament. But now you're thinking like this team is playing as good as anybody. A lot better than Kansas that they had at number 1. That team sucks. And Kentucky, man. I mean, they've been in basketball season for, 5 or 6 months now, and you hate to see it. Tennessee's still in a playoff run in football, and here we go being the number 1 team in the country. So you can take your Final Four banner comments and shove them where the sun don't shine, but Tennessee's going to be number 1 next week, so suck it.
Yeah, that works for me. Yeah.
All right. Anything else for? Did you think Tennessee would be good in basketball? Like,
Yeah, I didn't know how good, and I thought there's a lot
did
of
you think they would
transfers.
take a step back from last year?
Not necessarily. So they kind of are what I thought they'd be. I thought this team seemed to be more well-rounded. I thought, and I still think this is a question to be answered. I thought we'd miss Dalton Connect more. I didn't know. I didn't worry so much about the leadership. I know you lost a lot of key guys, but you kept a lot of key guys too in those leadership roles. But I did think this team was more well-rounded. I think they definitely are more athletic as a group.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have a lot more ball players at each position. I don't think you'll be missing Dalton Connect so bad with Chaz Lanier's ability to score and score in bunches, but I also still think that's very much to be determined.
Yeah.
I don't think you know till you know. One thing about last year's team is the run they went on from mid-January to mid-March was just incredible. I mean, just really played a lot of good basketball in that stretch, and not a lot of bad basketball. So that's a tough thing to do. And I would never be able to guess if this team can put it together for that long, or if when they lose it, can they put it back together? Basketball is a games of runs, both in the season and how you play the season, and also in each game is literally a game of runs. Like, runs happen. It's how you fight them off. It's how you respond. Can you go on runs of your own? So I think it's one of those teams that's hard to judge. But I think certainly as a team, I think this team is. I expected them to be more well-rounded.
Okay. I'm just more of like surprised of how quickly it's
that
worked.
As a with all the but I mean,
yeah.
But I think also if you look at it has been put together quickly. But I also think it's a little bit easier in this sport to gel. And with Chaz Lanier just being a pure shooter, you don't really have to work to get him the ball. I think that helps. I think that helps the ease of transition.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with their defense, though, especially with all the transfers. And then you didn't really know what Cade Phillips would be, and he gives you a lot defensively.
Yeah. Yeah, I think having a guy like Igor that can defend pretty much anybody on the court. I mean, maybe you don't want him on a true point guard kind of blowing by you, but like he is quick enough to guard anybody, it seems like. And I feel like his versatility is kind of, especially on defense, been a huge impact on everybody else. Where,
yeah.
And like you don't have to worry about help when you have Felix Okpara just swatting things in the fifth row.
Right.
Like you're like, oh, okay, I can kind of be like up in this guy's grill because if he gets by me, like you got to go through that guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just seems to have worked for Tennessee, and I thought they would be good because I don't see this program being bad anytime soon. And then you have your key guys that, Zakai and Jemai back. I just didn't know how much you'd get from your bench.
Right.
I was nervous about that. And then you lose Cam Carr and JP Estrella, which guys are going to have big roles on this team. And they haven't missed a beat.
Oh, yeah. It's
like they're able to give
crazy.
Zakai like a little bit of breaks. Like he doesn't have to play 40 minutes.
Which I think
because you have guys
in the long run.
For sure.
I just went and looked it up because I was like, I can't remember kind of how that run took place last year. And I know there were some disappointing and just not fun losses in the mix. When Tennessee returned from Maui, they lost to Mississippi State January 10th. That was a poor shooting night from Tennessee. That was not a fun game. They lost to South Carolina January 30th. That was just an ugly rock fight. That was not a fun game to watch. They lost to Texas A&M, where Texas A&M did not miss a shot. It was bananas land. Like, you couldn't stop them that night. Didn't matter if you shot lights out. And then they lost to Kentucky at home by 4 and lost to Mississippi State in the SEC tournament in ugly fashion, and then went to the Elite Eight. So that's to come back from Maui after 3 losses and then rattle that off that's a long run to sustain of just mostly highs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that's going to be a tough thing to match. So I don't know if the output will be better than last year's team, but we'll see. Get a chance to start a long run on Tuesday night.
Well, right now it's just become so easy. It seems like for this team,
they do make it look easy. It looks
like last year. I feel like when Dalton Connect happened, like that's when Tennessee would show up. But like you're not having Chaz Lanier scoring like 26, but it doesn't feel like it.
He does it quietly.
Yeah. Whereas
he does it quickly.
Dalton Connect was just gonna like, here it comes. I'm bringing it up the court and I'm going to shoot it right in your eye. So, I mean, get ready. Whereas, like, this team you can get 12 points from Jordan Gainey, 12 points from Cade Phillips. Like, it's fun to watch. It really is.
Yeah.
I guess we got all the questions in here. Did you have any more?
No.
Okay.
Well, yes. Sorry, Lady Vols 6-0. They should be ranked this week's ranking, and the blue jerseys. I'll just say this: those are the best uniforms Tennessee's worn this week. I will leave it at that.
You didn't like them in person?
No, and the first possession, I can't remember if we got just like stuffed at the rim. Like, I don't remember how it happened, but opening tip, come down the court, whatever happens. And the crowd groans. And I was like, what? The team in orange? Oh, we're wearing black. So it was also like, why did we do it with a team that had orange as their color?
I guess that.
But no, they're just plain black. I mean, there's nothing exciting about them, and I hate the Nike font.
Yeah. I think his shorts look cool with the Power T on it.
Yeah. They don't look hideous, but I also just don't think they're great. But I don't know why we're settling for just good-looking uniforms. I feel like we're going to wear something abnormal. Also, our home whites are just some of my favorite uniforms at the entire university.
I like the cream with the script on it. Those
the cream
are
looks good.
My favorite. Anything's better than those god awful gray with the checkerboard.
The smoky gray should be burned.
Those were bad. All right, let's get into some stupidity.
Stupidity. AT&T.
Oh yeah, mine's Alabama football account. Did you see the images that they did for their the graphics they did for their commitments?
No. Talk to me.
I'm about to send it to you, and you tell me what you think. I mean it's it doesn't even. It's not cool at all.
While you're sending that to me, Mississippi State fired their entire content team today.
Oh, really? Oh, good for them.
Which is just hilarious. Like right after one of the busiest days for content for college football content teams. They're like, yeah, we don't need your services anymore, but thank you for yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sure those guys are like, yeah, it was my fault we didn't land any recruits.
Yeah, right.
Let me know when you get that.
Oh, yeah. What was that? I saw you tweet that.
Yeah, that's what Alabama was tweeting for their commitments.
Why?
I have no clue. Like, this is, and it's all of them.
Oh, it's all of them combined?
That's just one, but they would do each individual ones as well.
Oh. I'm very confused.
I mean, that's a content team that should be fired, not Mississippi State.
I mean, there has to be some story. There has to be something to it. Not that it still wouldn't be dumb, but there has to be something about it, no?
I have no clue. No idea.
Is it about the rule? Is there some rule? Because that's what some people were talking about when I was reading that story about the apparently they were slow to Mississippi State was slow getting them out, but they said apparently there's some rule about how soon you can put out pictures of them. Does that have something? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't get it. It seems like a bit to me.
I don't know. Whatever it is, it's horrible. It's horrendous. Any more stupidities?
Yeah, I think so.
I got one more. I got Cam Ward. I know we were talking about how Miami has a better resume than Alabama. He did say this. I mean, at the end of the day, them boys who in that committee, I really doubt they watch tape or not. I really doubt they watch tape or not. I don't know what that means. We're playing better defenses, in my opinion, than the SEC.
Yeah, I don't think that's right, but I'm going to go with yes because they should be in over Alabama.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Sorry, I'm siding with our boy.
Yeah.
My only stupidity is I meant to share this a while back, but Dan Hurley said he's not doing another 3-game multi-team event again after that abhorrent showing in Maui. Dan, I'm gonna be honest, brother. You can't go 0-4 and say that.
Yeah.
To say that, you got to win at least one, but really all 3.
They were down to number 25 this week. Yikes. And
It's
probably if they weren't UConn, they were out of the top 25.
You can't go cry and complain after losing all 3.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not trying to I don't really care. Dan Hurley's a unique character. He's from Jersey, I think. He's just a weird dude.
Mm-hmm.
Lay off the coke, brother. It's getting bad. It's getting bad.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to give that assistant coach your salary at this point if he has to hold you back again. I'm not a Dan Hurley fan, not a Dan Hurley hater, but yeah, it's getting embarrassing. Not good behavior.
Yeah. Mine's all the people that were ragging on David Sanders for holding it out. I'm not going to name names or anything, but maybe you should just let it play out before you just sit there and complain and blame somebody else.
So. No, for sure.
That's all I got.
That's it for me.
Awesome, guys. Thank y'all for listening. We'll be back on Sunday. We have a basketball. We don't have a basketball game. I mean, this is just a stress-free weekend.
Yeah, we just get to enjoy it. Yep.
Yeah, we'll be back on Sunday talking about the college football playoff. And probably there's some transfer portal stuff going on. Guys entering. No one really of note for Tennessee. So, Caleb Webb was in there, Vyson Lang, Khalifa Keith, 3 guys. Not very shocked that they're entering the portal, but good luck to them. And, hey, Kentucky's losing everybody on their roster, so we'll see what happens with that. Guys, go check us out on Twitter or X, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatever you got, we're there. Spotify, everything. Everywhere you get your podcast will be there. Have a good weekend. We're bringing the boat in, and we out.